Hey everybody, Star 6 Wars 1 here, and welcome to the 14th and final review for Anime Movie Month. For this one, we are going to look at Fullmetal Alchemist Sacred Star of Milos. Now, I'm going to point this out right now, and I'm going to be very blunt and say this. No, I don't think this is as good a movie as another movie I know of, Fullmetal Alchemist Conqueror of Shambhala. And I'll get into that a little later, but I just want to clear that up right now. I think this is not as good as Conqueror of Shambhala. But again, I'll explain why near the end. First, let's go with the story. The story does not completely revolve around Ed and Al, which I kind of think is a bit of a problem. Now, don't get me wrong, I don't mind a story that does not revolve around the main characters. But because they get such a main focus in the later part, it seems odd that the story isn't focused around them. Again, though, that's just a minor little complaint. The story is focused more so around Julia and her resistance and her brother, but the problem with that kind of it goes into the characters, but I'll get into that again in a minute. The story in itself actually is pretty good and one of the highlights of the film. True, it can be a little complicated at times, and I think it'll take a few minutes to follow, but once you get it down to it, it's really easy to follow. It's like the series in that regard. Thankfully, both series are the same in that regard. Now, let's get into the characters. First and foremost, I want to point this out right now. Armstrong had one scene in it with him. He deserved more. Mustang should have gotten a much bigger role than I think he did. And Winry is about the same. Outside of them, we go into four characters I want to talk about. Ed and Al I'm counting as two. Both of them do pretty well, and they are definitely the highlight in the character department. They're just as good in any of the Fullmetal Alchemist stuff, so don't worry about them. They're good. The problem comes into the next two I want to talk about, Julia and her brother. Now, the brother is really spoiler heavy, so I really can't get to talk to him about much. But let's just say he was both an interesting yet kind of uninteresting character. It's a kind of dual-edged sword, and I really wish I could explain it better, but I can't. You're just gonna have to trust me on this one. And then we get into Julia. Simply put, I think she's good, but she has her one or two moments of annoyance with me. I just think some of the decisions she makes I'm annoyed at, but then again, that could be just because I've never been in a situation like that. So again, I'm going to give her the benefit of the doubt on this one. Also, just before I leave the characters, I actually think the English dub was pretty good. Use the English dub. Next up, the music. Now we're really getting into some of the problems with Sacred Star of Milos. Let's just say this right now, I think the music is forgettable. Including the opening and ending themes. Sorry, but this one, a good one, this is not. Next, we get into the one big problem with the movie. And just as a quick warning, I need to go into rant form for this one. Studio Bones. I respect you for making Wolf's Rain, Cowboy Bebop the movie, and everything Fullmetal Alchemist anime related. Why in the hell did you screw up the animation of it this badly? I mean, my God. This is a case of why did you fix what isn't broken? The animation in Brotherhood was fine. Okay, I think it went off key once or twice, but for the most part it was pretty good. And the other Fullmetal Alchemist stuff, Conqueror of Shambhala and the original series, were damn fine. some of the best animation I've ever seen. And that's saying that 10 years later. Why, in this movie, did you screw that up so badly? I'm at a loss for words. Okay, yes, I've seen worse animation. Studio Dean, for the most part, has worse animation on a regular day. But this is Gainax bad sometimes. Oh. And I know you can make better animation than this. Why did you do this? Okay, my rant's over. Sorry about that, guys. That's a sore point for me. Unfortunately, that's kind of how Sacred Star of Milos has been. Really good movie. I think I look for three things in anime: characters, enjoyment, and the ending. I think the ending of this is perfectly fine. I think the characters, while not the best, are a good, passable job. The enjoyment was pretty good, but there are hints of the enjoyment still being hindered by the animation, a few of the characters, and a forgettable soundtrack. So yes, those hinder them. And for Fullmetal Alchemist, and for both of them, they were my favorite anime. I hold them both in very high regard. So the fact that this movie feels like a failed attempt at it, it's really, really hurting it for me. I cannot put into words how aggravated I am with it. And how deeply sad I am with it. Because it could have been so much more. Unfortunately, I think this is the weakest of the Fullmetal Alchemist stuff. Thankfully, though, I still think this is a pretty good movie on its own. And if this wasn't Fullmetal Alchemist, it was still pretty good. And to be honest, some of the stuff it does cover in the story is still pretty good. I still highly recommend this. Just for this one, lower your expectations. It's not Fullmetal Alchemist or Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood. It's its own entity. And if you view it like that, I think you'll have a much easier time than I did. I give Fullmetal Alchemist Sacred Star of Milos an 8 out of 10. I've seen better this month, in my opinion, but I've also seen a lot worse this month. And that's all from me, but before I go, I have two announcements. One, tomorrow on January 1st, I'm going to be making an epilogue to Anime Movie Month. And explaining some future projects I'm planning out. But I'm going to reveal one project I've been thinking of right now. Starting January 7th, we begin Fullmetal Alchemist Month. See you guys then.